Hello, my name is Sylvia, and if you're new to this channel, welcome, and remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Today we are going to be learning Illustrator for beginners, basically just the basic things you need to know about Illustrator to get you started. So follow along and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. So to begin with is you want to create a new document, and to do that, like the one below, is basically File, New, go to File, New, and then you can select whatever dimensions you're looking for. Mostly these are the, what do you call them, units, and I'm using millimeters. This is a A5 size. I'm used to using A5s, I guess, because I do a lot of publishing and creating of books. So I'm used to using A5, which is a good dimension to work with as well. But yeah, the good thing with Illustrator, so basically when you create a new object like that, brings a new object, but we already have that, so you don't need to. And you can also open an old object and create from the old one. So basically the difference with what do you call it, an Illustrator file and say you create on Photoshop, is an Illustrator file always retains its quality. So this, if you shrink it, this is an object. If you're normally working with objects, and objects are normally shapes, so basically different shapes you can imagine in the world, combine them, and that basically just gives you tools to work with. So this is tiny, it can be for favicon or icons or thumbnails, and you can blow it up as big as a billboard, and the good thing is it retains its qualities. That's why it's good to work with Illustrator. So that's the difference. So yeah, let's begin. This is what you're seeing is a object, a shape, and how to do that is on this rectangle. You can choose whatever shape you like. I'm using a rectangle tool. So just click and drag, click and drag. Basically, that's how you create an object, a shape that is a rectangle. You can do the same by right clicking and selecting the one that has a round shape. And to press use shift is basically just so that it's a square. So if I do the same with the rectangle tool and let's go back to the rectangle tool and I click and use the shift button, basically what that does is just make sure that all the sides are the same. So that's how you get a square. And you can do the same for the circle. I'm using the shift to create a circle. Without using the shift, you can basically create an oval, and those are the different shapes you can create. You can use a star tool just to create a star with a shift, and that's how you do it. This is called the selection tool, and the shortcut is a V, and basically you can basically select any shape and move the shape with the move tool, the selection tool, and that's what that does. So to create what do you call it, triangle, you use a polygon tool, and that is the polygon tool for that shape, like that. Click and drag, remember, and then you release if you're happy with your object. So this is how you create a triangle. I'm pressing the shift key, clicking and dragging, pressing the shift key. So for the rectangle tool, let me delete that. To delete, just press the delete button on your keyboard. Or to undo, you can use a shortcut key, which is Ctrl-Z. I usually use the Ctrl-Z more than even the delete, because you just undo what you've done. That's Ctrl-Z. And if you're using a Mac, every time I say Control, just use the Command key. It's the same thing. Yep. So I'm using the polygon tool. That's a polygon, I think. And then I'm right clicking. Okay, lies. I'm clicking, and that brings up this polygon tab. And basically, to create a triangle, you can change the different sides or whatever you want to use. That just brings a triangle. There you go. That's how you create a triangle. And that's basically the shapes tool. So you've learned the selection tool and you've learned the shape tool. Now we are learning the select tool. What do you call it? Let me click on it. It's called direct selection tool. So the difference with the select tool and this, which the shortcut is A, if you select an object, it's going to bring up these points. And these points, you can basically click on a point and move them. And when you move them, what you're doing is basically just distorting the shapes and creating, your own shapes that you'd like to see. Like this, you can move this object here. And what that does is it just basically creates a new shape out of your shape that you created. Like that is a circle. And, you get the idea. Like this, create from that point, you can basically create different shapes that we don't already have. These are basically just the common shapes, and this helps you create your own shape out of shapes that are already there. So yeah, I think that's what's cool with that. And before you know it, you are creating like the master that you are. And yeah, so basically what I use Illustrator for is illustrations and logos mostly, because with logos you don't want to lose the pixels. You want to be able to blow them as big as a billboard sign or as tiny as the small icon that you see on every website that you go to. That's called a favicon, and it's a tiny dot and it still retains its pixels. You don't lose the quality. That's why I love Illustrator. So now let's go to the pen tool. For the pen tool, you use this and that comes, and basically all you do is click. And basically what you're doing is creating your own object like that. And just remember, every time you press shift, it just creates a straight line. And these pink lines are anchor tools. Basically how you view them is by selecting the smart guide, and that basically just makes, I think have I removed it? I've removed it. Yeah, so that basically makes it easy for you to, imaginary grids, that it snaps on the grid and it's able to select and make that easy for you. So if you use the path, I think this is not in the center. Now it is. Yeah, so basically, see, I've drawn a house, and that's how simple it is to draw. So basically, that's a tool. Another thing you want to know is colors. So basically, all these objects, to select all of them, you click somewhere on your artboard. This is an artboard, by the way. And you click like that, click and drag to select all of them. To select one, you just use this shape, just select on it, and it should be selected like that. Very simple. Select all, you select that. And you can actually group all of them, and the shortcut key, which is actually the only way I know to group, is Control G. And if you Control and G, that's already grouped. So if you select one, they're all grouped together, so they move together. If you want to undo, just Control Z, basically undoes everything. Or press the ungroup by right clicking and ungrouping like that. So you can actually change the colors, and how you're going to do that is select an object and change the colors. So that's that. If you don't want to stroke the object, which is basically an outline, to zoom in, you can Control and plus, and that just basically zooms in on the object. And or you can use this zoom button, which is here, that does the same thing. To move around the artboard, just click with that, and that takes you around. Just basically makes that easier. So now we are using this, and you can actually make the stroke fatter. You can change the color of the stroke by using this, like that. And you can create the same object by copying and pasting, which is on edit, which is paste, like that. You can use the paste tool, but I just basically use the shortcut key, which is Control-C, and to paste directly on top of the object, press Control-F, and using the selection tool to move that, you'll see that you have two objects. But let's undo that with the Control-Z, and Control-C, Control-8, is it? Yeah, it's still there. So that's on top. And if you want to mirror the same, you can just there's no mirror tool over here, is there? No, there's no mirror tool. So you can actually go to Object and Transform, and this basically just reflects vertically and horizontally. So to do that, you can do that with a copy, but I already created the copy. So to preview that, that's how it's gonna look. Mirror that, or you can mirror that horizontally, or you can do both, or you can use an angle like that, and basically just check it out and see how that works. I don't want to use the angle, I want to use the vertical tool, and so I press OK, and then do the same again. Transform that object, remember, object, transform, and reflect. I'm gonna reflect that now horizontally, and there you have your two tools. So I can choose to move that closer just so I can create something decent. I'm pressing the shift, release, shifts, and to zoom out you press Control minus. So select object, maybe make them touch. It's not like a mirror, so that's gonna be like that. Anyway, whatever, you get the point. That's how you use the mirror tool or transformation tool to basically do that. Next thing you want to learn is we've learned this here. This is the pen tool. The pen tool is your best friend. The pen tool basically outlines any shape, and it's what you use to draw. You can, how to use that is just click once and click anywhere else, and that's your line. Click and drag, click and drag, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. See what I'm doing? Clicking and drag, and that's Control-Z, like that. So click and drag. To create a straight line, just press Shift, and that's gonna be very easy for you to do. That's another way to create the triangle tool. There you go. Click, Shift, drag, and basically that's how you get another object. So remember, Control-C, Control-F, and you have another object. We can basically reflect that and reflect it again. Object, transform, reflect horizontally. Yeah, so reflect that and you have two objects like that. That's really cool. I want to change the color so we're not just using green. It's not even one of my favorite colors. My favorite color is purple and pink. Maybe we use that. And then we take away the stroke. To remove the stroke, just click on this that says none, and you'll have that. Very simple. All right, so that's how you use the reflection tool. Another thing I've shown you how to use the pen tool. So that's how to draw straight lines like that. Just click like that, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. But then you can also draw curves. And how to do that is click and then Shift and wait. The pen tool is the trickiest for me. Click and drag before releasing, and release. Click and drag before releasing. Click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. So how I learned how to use the pen tool is just mostly drawing wavy lines, and when I was able to draw a straight line like that, when I was able to basically draw Do you get what I'm saying? A straight wavy line, like I knew I was ready. I was ready to use basically the pen tool, just like that. Keep practicing until you're good at it. So I normally use this, and I basically click again on the center and drag to the other, just to have that shape. So the good thing with the pen tool is you can change the shapes, you can change the anchor point, and that just basically undoes that. Or on a wavy line, you can change that to straight, Control Z to have a back circle. And you can also edit the, what do you call them? I think it's written. What is it called? What? The thingy, the majingi. The anchor points, you can change them like that and manipulate them. So the pen tool is very much your own practice. Just practice until you're basically drawing a person using the pen tool. That's where I got to the point of digital art. And with this pen tool, which is basically just as good as the pen tool, another thing you need to know is you can add a point using the pen tool, and you can again take away the point with the minus tool, just like that. And that's what this does as well. You can select and just move things around, which is cool, like that. That also helps with changing around shapes, playing around with shapes, creating your own shapes. And yeah, so the difference with CS6 and CC, the reason why I love CC is because of these shapes. These shapes, if you select this shape on CC, you can actually change your shape by changing sharp objects into curved objects. That's another reason I like CC. You can do that with CS6. But that's a small problem, because you can actually just come here and convert the shape into the point into a curved shape if you don't have that option on CC. So that's another tool. So we've learned the selection tool, we've learned the direct selection tool, we've learned this and that. Have we learned this? This just makes if you click and use that, I think it just helps curved lines more accurate. It's mostly for curved lines, but you get the idea. It works like the pen tool, but with mostly curved lines. This is mostly straight lines, but this also achieves what this can do when you get good at it. So now we go to creating text. So this is the text tool, and you can actually just write basically whatever you want to write with that, and you can change the fonts on here. Like say I want Helvetica, you can write it down, you can scroll down your fonts. I just have many fonts because I'm always downloading free fonts. And yeah, so you can change the size, you can change whether you want it bold or regular, and you also can change the character options like this. You can make them both capital. This is for basically like the pen tool, if you get what I'm saying. This gives you the option of regular, blah blah blah, depending on the font and what you have. So that's what I have. So this is a text in my Illustrator file, and for me to edit this and change them into shapes, what I can do is right click, create outlines, and that's what I have. I have this. So remember what we did. Actually, I think I want to change that into a different color. So we'll change that into a different color. I don't want it to have a stroke, but I want it to have a color. Okay, that's a dark color. We'll go with not too much green. Let's go with orange. That's this orange. Yeah, so we can use that orange and this lighter orange, which almost looks like a yellow. So there, AB, say that's your company name. So yeah, now you have an outline. Remember I told you how to ungroup. So now you'll have the objects separately like that, and say you want this bigger than the other. So basically helps you manipulate the letter separately and as an object. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, like that, and you kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. So with this, I'm just aligning them. So another thing you want to learn is the align tool, which you select those two, and this basically just aligns that. I remember it took me forever to know. You see, that's already a cool shape. Control Z, and yeah, you basically have the alignment tool. You can even have this as white, and that basically just creates a negative space inside that, which I think is pretty cool. You can go up to the ends if you wanted to. They can even touch. And basically what you're doing is designing and creating logos and manipulating spaces, which is what Illustrator is good for. So basically that's what that shape does, the text tool does. And something else you might want to know is, if you don't want this to be like an object, like you want this shape to be separate, you can actually select all of them and come into the pathfinder. The pathfinders is basically, if you divide the shapes, then what happens is you have this shape separately. So now you actually have the orange object, and the shapes are all different. This is a shape, this is a shape, this is a shape. You get what I'm saying? And you can manipulate them. You can manipulate them separately. You can change the colors. Say you want that to be red, or you want that to be a different orange. You can select this orange, make it darker on that, and now you have different shapes you're working with, like that. Different shapes you're working with, like that. Yeah, that's really cool. Wow, I love it. So Illustrator is a really cool software if you want to create, manipulate shapes and create your own shapes and logos, usually icons and stuff like that. So you got that. You can actually even come here, and now because of it's a shape, you can manipulate that into your own cool shapes, change fonts into your own font style and stuff like that. Say you wanna drag this up to the end like that, you can do that as well, and maybe elongate that. Select this too and move it up using the up tool on your keyboard sideways so that you don't lose the side, and there you are creating like a master. You go, girl. And then say you want to, you can also, here's what this tool is for. See, since you've separated these tools, okay, now that is not separate anymore because you have manipulated that and it's not separated. So I can select that again and use that, and now we have different tools. So maybe you want to get rid of different shapes. You can actually click and just delete this, because now they're shapes. You can delete that. That's a good thing with the pathfinder and the divide. You can actually change that. See, when I created this, I left a lot of spaces. So now if you want to work with layers, you can work with layers, and you can actually lock. You can lock that, and when you lock that, maybe you want to just lock some parts and not others. You can say lock that, or you can actually use the swatch tool and pick that color. This is like the copy tool basically. If you want it to be green, if you want to copy that, I want to copy that, so that basically is used as that. It's called a swatch tool. Wait, did I just make that up? What is it called? Oh, eyedropper tool. It's called the eyedropper tool. My bad. Yeah, so basically that's what that does, which I think is really cool. So this is basically not aligned because of I separated. I'm zooming in with Control Z. So you see, maybe I don't like that. I can just come here and delete that, and it's going to be aligned, and delete that, and basically I have a straight line. So before you know it, you are creating and you're a master at your work. So what else haven't you learned? That's the text tool. Now you want to learn, the line tool is just basically like the pen tool, but it's just for drawing a straight line. So you click that, drag, and you have that. And because of none of this are selected, say you want to use a stroke, a black line, you can change the stroke points and make that fat. And the cool thing is with the line, you can have a basic line, you can have a sketchy line, say you want to draw sketches, or you can, you move it back to basic to change the width profile. So you see that, let me make it thicker so that you get to see what that looks like. You can actually change the type of line that looks like with this, and you can actually do that with like this different different lines. It doesn't have to be this line tool alone. You can do that on a shape with the strokes. Just change the shapes into something you like. Say you don't want to use a basic tool and you want to use different brushes like that, you can do that, and that's actually cool. Like this, you can change the size of the brush like that, make it thick, and that's just play around with the brushes and get to see different brushes. And to get more brushes, just come to the brush tool over here, click on this mini lines, this mini tiny lines, and open the brush library, and you have all these brushes to look into. Say the artistic gallery, you can select that and change the brushes into whatever you want. Basically, this allows you to use different kinds of brushes. So the brushes are many, the options are many. You can play around with the brush tool. Yeah, and this is the brush tool. So that's what you selected. You just click and draw. This one is just a freestyler. So the good thing with Illustrator is, say your line isn't straight, that straightens it up for you. So I also like using the brush tool for my Illustrator like that. That's really fun. See? Amazing. You can change the color of that as well into red or gray or whatever color you like. That's what that is for. It's really cool. Play around with the brush tool and get comfortable with that as well. I find it rare that I've ever used the eraser tool. I don't even think I know how to use it. Oh, that's how you use it. All right, here you go, girl. Yeah, so I don't usually use the eraser tool normally because I use the Control-Z to undo my work. I'm actually learning this with you guys. That's really cool. That's how you erase. Wow, guys, this is cool. Anyway, yeah, that's the eraser tool. And I don't know, what's the shaper tool? Oh, that's like the pencil. It's kind of like the brush, but with the pencil it doesn't really straighten it for you. It's your line is crooked, so good luck with that. And smooth tool, what does that do? I don't know. Select that. It disappeared. Yeah, so I don't usually use this, so for a beginner I wouldn't worry too much about that. This is actually very important, and I'll show you why in a second. Say you have these two objects and you want to attach these two objects. Select both of the objects and use this tool. Let me go back to I don't need that. Yeah, so go back to this and select both of these objects and use this to create one object out of that, and that's what that does. Creates one shape out of a shape, which I find pretty cool. And yeah, so that's what that does. And the gradient tool, basically, if you select this and you want a gradient, let me remove the stroke so that you get to just see the color. So the gradient tool, which is this, basically you get to change colors like that. You can change the colors on here by changing that, and you have that. You can actually use this what do you call it, white or black, orange, and change colors on here, which is pretty cool. That's all you need to learn for today. And the gradient tool basically just shows you which side of the gradient you want to use. So if you lose your work, you can use the hand to find it, or you can press Ctrl- to zoom out and Ctrl+ to zoom back in. There you go. So yeah, you can play around with that and just kind of see what that does, which is the gradient tool. I feel like I'm a beginner in Illustrator all these years, and here I am teaching you what I know. So I feel like basically to get good at something, you have to keep practicing and trying out the tools. So I'm teaching you basically what I've discovered through YouTube school and just generally small beginner classes like I'm teaching you now. So yeah, that's what the gradient tool does. If you want it to be a solid color, just go back here and go back to that object and basically use these colors. I like using these colors, but there are plenty of colors you can use. And to use particular color codes, you can right click and you will be given a selection of colors there. Or if you want to change CMYK, you can also do that. So that's the different colors. What color do I want to use? I use that blue. All right, so I think we're finished. That's all the colors you need to learn. This is the artboard tool, so that actually just edits the artboard, but I don't think you want to do that as of yet, so let's not learn that. So I think that's the basic tools. That's the basic tools you need to know for illustration. So welcome for joining my class. You've learned a lot today, so practice those tools and get your Illustrator knowledge going. Hope to see your comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new videos. See you in the next video.